And what a great job that he does all year long for whether it's basketball or baseball, but especially during the show yesterday for Memorial Day, which was really cool. Our guy, Rich Hollenberg. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Jay, how are you, my friend? Good to see you as always.
I'm good, man. You are the closer. You're the Pete Fairbanks of the operation today. 5 huge guests on the program today. We start with Nick Rodriguez, Tampa's own, who had a 40-game hitting streak from Missouri State. We go to Sammy Militello for UT and Ian Beckles and Nigel Kerwin and Rich Hollenberg. No better guy to close it off. The Mariano Rivera of this operation
can I just
today.
jump in for a quick second?
Go ahead.
Go sideways really fast. Nigel Kerwin, when I first jumped on and I was backstage and I saw Nigel, that brought the biggest smile to my face. What you might not even know about me, Jay Recher, is before you were born, essentially, I was the PA announcer for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Paul Porter, there was a window where Paul Porter was not doing the PA announcing for the Lightning. And I stepped in there, and Nigel was part of the team back then.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still there. He is bedrock foundation Tampa Bay Lightning, man. Love that guy.
What year was that?
I want to say, let's see, it was before I met my wife. It was, I want to say maybe 98.
Wow.
It was pretty soon after they came into existence. It was not long after that. And they were terrible. Vinny was brand new. I think he was 17 years old at the time. Roman Hammerlick, Chris Gratton. I'm going way back. And I talk about it when it comes up, since I brought it up. I might have been the youngest PA announcer in all of professional sports at that time. I was just an idiot in my 20s at the time.
98, man. I was 13 years old, man. Those are the days.
It was right around then. Something like that.
Unbelievable. I want to ask you some college basketball stuff here in a bit too, of course, because we saw Condon's going back to Florida, which was a big news today. And I mean, Coach Bryan Hodgson is doing a fantastic job with the USF and unbelievable. But I got to talk the Rays, man. They've turned this baby around, and I was at the game Saturday night, and I feel like when you talk about the Rays and some of the struggles that they have, just the even keel of Kevin Cash and not getting too high, not getting too low is one of the reasons why they're able to kind of come out of it. But I also think him getting fired up, getting tossed last week, Rich, when you see something like that, because my 2 cents is, if you're a coach that does that all the time, it's not as impactful. But when you're a guy like Cash, he's kind of go with the flow, and then he does that, that's when the guys go, oh, okay. I think it spurred the team on, and now they've won 6 in a row. What say you?
I don't disagree at all, Jay. And I will say this, what you just described is why I will die on this hill that Kevin Cash is the best manager in baseball. And I know Doug Wechter feels the same way about it. It is not because he possesses more X's and O's or inside baseball skill sets than any other manager in the 29 other franchises. It's because he combines that expertise with elite level communication skills. And in this day and age, communication is something that not all of us are really that good at anymore because of our freaking phones. And when you think about and I use this term as a term of endearment, when you think about the kids that are in that clubhouse, because most of them are, they all do not know a life without this in their hands. So the ability for Kevin Cash to cut through that clutter and all the noise that social media makes and otherwise, he is by far, in my humble estimation, the best communicator in all of sports. And I'm not saying that he blew a gasket in that game and got the gate for that particular reason. I think if you asked him in an honest moment, I think his team not playing well had as much to do with him blowing a gasket as the call that he took issue with. But I think those two things are more than interconnected. And it just shows you that, in a 162 game season, Jay, you're not going to push all the right buttons all the time, but Kevin Cash does it more times than not.
Yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't have to be just because it's not like contrived doesn't mean it didn't have the, the outcome that you wanted, right? We'll take it, man. 6-game winning streak in this team, and I look at some of the guys just going to the game and watching Chandler Simpson. Rich, I don't know. I mean, I think he's the most exciting player the Rays have had since Arozarena. I think he could be one of the most exciting players they've ever had in franchise history because you can't teach that speed. I saw him hit a ground ball to Clement the other night at second base, and it was a routine ground ball. And Clement, who's a good fielder, was like,
Panic.
you could tell the wheels were spinning. Like, I got to get rid of this ball. And it was it was a 4-3 in the book, but it was just one of those things where if you're not looking for it, you don't notice it. But there was a heightened level of, oh my gosh, I have to make this play and I got to make it clean. Like, not every player is able to do that in sports, but man, Chandler Simpson, my God, every AB is must see.
Yeah. Very small sample size. He's only been in the league since the middle of April.
Right.
But I will say this because my wheels have been turning in the same direction as yours, which is scary to say the least. But I think of Randy Arozarena. I think of Carl Crawford. There's a short list of players you would put in that electrifying category. And I'll use a sports term that is usually reserved for football. But what Chandler Simpson is and does for this Rays team, he's a game wrecker. That's what he is. And you don't have many of those in baseball. Ronald Acuna Jr., when he's healthy, is a game wrecker. And it's not necessarily because he can hit you 30, 40 bombs. It's because of what he does on the base paths, in addition to that power. Now, I'm not comparing those two. Chandler Simpson doesn't have that power, but he has underrated bat-to-ball skills. Dude had almost 1,000 ABs in minor leagues, and he was a 324 minor league hitter. So this guy has the potential to be at least close to a 300 hitter. And then every time he gets on, even if it's a base hit, even if it's an infield single, you basically count that as an extra base hit because chances are better than good that he's going to swipe a bag on, if not two bags. So we only can hope that this rookie season continues and he continues to grow and blossom. And I had an awesome conversation with him last week. I don't want to give away too much because it's coming up on a future Rays All Access. But one of the things I asked him was about goal setting. And he told me in no uncertain terms, he not only writes down his dreams and then they become goals, which is something I endorse wholeheartedly.
Right.
But he takes it a step further and he sleeps with that list under his pillow. That's how dedicated and devoted and driven that Chandler Simpson is to set a new standard for speed on the base paths in Major League Baseball.
I love that. What would you say is the reason why the Rays have been able to kind of turn this thing around? And I said Friday before we hopped off air, I said this is a big series for the Rays. You know, you're facing Toronto. You have a good weekend. You're looking at second place when we get back on the air on Tuesday, and that's exactly what happened. I'm not giving myself credit, but it seems like, you know, they've found their groove a little bit after really struggling at home. I think getting used to the surroundings, you know, from what I've heard, you know, some certain guys, it's just, you know, certain balls don't go out. You think they're going to go out. It's an adjustment, right? It's an adjustment. And, you know, it's still early on in the season, but from what you've seen, what do you think is the biggest reason for the turnaround?
I think the ballpark is starting to play like the ballpark we expected it to play as. And that has to do with Mother Nature as much as anything. It's getting hotter. It's getting more humid. The Rays had 18 home runs in their last 13 games. This is only, 7 games into a 9-game homestand. Right. So they started hitting homers before they returned home. And now they're hitting homers when they're home. It used to be that there were a lot of home runs hit at Steinbrenner Field, but the opposition was doing most of the home run hitting. Now, all of a sudden, the Rays are matching their opposition, if not bettering them. And lately, obviously, they've been getting the better of them in that department. So I think that has a big say in that. I also think that you do have to get used to your environment. And that was something that was, I think, a little underrated or not talked about a lot coming into this season. Brian Anderson disagrees, and I respectfully understand his take on this. Everyone has to play on the same field. You can't say it's a home field disadvantage for the Rays. But what I can say is this: the Rays have played more games on that field than any team in baseball, right? Because it's their home field. So the learning curve was a little bit bigger for them. They had to get used to it more than an opposition coming in, an Atlanta Braves, a Boston Red Sox going, I just have 3 games to play. It's just another ballpark. The Rays had to prepare for this for 81 games, and now it's finally starting to click. And the other thing is, Jay, and Rays fans might not want to hear this, and I don't want to throw a cold blanket on a 6-game winning streak, but they're still just 1 game over 500.
Right.
Last year, they were 2 games under 500. You're going to have to prove it to me over a longer window of time that they are that much better than they were last year. Here's one reason why I think they will be much better than last year when this final book is written at the end of the regular season. It's because their pitching is so much better. The first week of the season, we saw it with the starters. This last week of the season, we've seen it again with the starters. This is without Shane McClanahan. God, I hope we see him this season. Yeah. Maybe it's sooner than later, but who knows? But I think the relievers are going to be the relievers. They are going to be one of the best bullpens in baseball. I came into this season going, you know why I think the Rays can make the playoffs? It's because their starting pitching could be the best in the American League. And right now they're pitching like that. If they could keep this up, and I don't think it's too big of an ask, if they could keep this up, then I think they could be a playoff team. Right now, there are 9 teams in the American League, Jay, who are within 5 games of 500. So the Rays are in there, right? Yeah. Outside of the 3 division leaders, the Yankees, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Seattle Mariners, outside of those 3, or I'm sorry, the Detroit Tigers are in first in the
Tigers,
AL. Yeah. Outside of those 3, it's a battle royale for the final 3 playoff spots. And the Rays are in it right now. And that's all we can ask for.
I'm with you, man. And I actually do think, going into the season, we're talking about the, how do you acclimate to a new ballpark? And people thought that just because, the Rays usually are, right? Nobody exists better in unique situations than the Tampa Bay Rays, just the way it goes. But I think, myself included, we thought it was just right out of the gates they were going to be okay and being able to do that. It took some time. I think it took the first quarter of the season. I'm with you. I think there's mental hurdles that go through, especially baseball, man, because they're creatures of habit. It's not like the other sports, right? It's a 0 for 4, 4 for 4. That's why I always call it's like the heartbeat of America. You got to get back up and got to go to work, whether you had a good day or a bad day at work. You got to get up and go back to work tomorrow. Same thing for baseball. 4 for 4, 0 for 4. You got to get back. You got to go do it again tomorrow. So what kind of routine have you had in a ballpark that is new to everybody? And that's the training staff, that's the equipment crew, that's everybody. So I'm with you. I think they're finally starting to figure everything out. And I'm excited to see what happens. Like, hopefully a guy like Shane comes back, but now you're getting a guy like Ha-Seong Kim, and he gets an opportunity to really show some of his skill yesterday. And what kind of impact do you think he's going to make on this team? Because you get a guy in, and it kind of reminds me of the Wilson Ramos signing a couple years ago, where you knew he was going to be injured for a little bit. Then he comes in and plays really well, and then you move on from him. I don't know the Rays are going to necessarily move on from him, but this is a guy that can play defense at a bunch of different positions, can swing it probably a little bit better than maybe some of the guys they have, maybe like Taylor Walls, but we'll see. Maybe this kind of thing makes Taylor Walls elevate his game, because we see that in baseball. But as far as Kim goes, how excited are you to see him in this lineup?
I can't wait. Gold Glove caliber. They have some options because of the ways the team's playing right now. The one thing I think you'll see Jose Caballero get a lot more looks in the outfield because there's just too much of a logjam. Taylor Walls is still viewed as that valuable. Yeah. And now he is starting to hit a little bit and produce a little bit. Not a lot, but a little. I think Ha-Seong Kim is going to see some time at second base. I think Ha-Seong Kim is going to see some time at DH. But look, if his first rehab game is any indication, he is ready to produce. at the big league level. And I can't wait to see it because it just adds to the depth and the already existing versatility that the Rays value more than maybe anything else. We see, like, do they put the highest premium on hitting home runs? No, but now they're hitting home runs. Do they put the highest premium on speed on the base paths? Yes, they have. For the second season in a row, they're tops in the American League, if not tops in all of baseball in stolen bases. So where does Ha-Seong Kim fit into that? Well, he plays elite level defense and he's got great bat to ball skills. So that's going to put more traffic on the base paths, and the Rays need that because the dirty little secret is during this stretch where they're playing better baseball, they still have scored 3 runs or fewer in 4 of the last 7 games.
Mhm.
That's despite a 6-game win streak.
Right.
So the offense still isn't where it needs to be because you can't ask any pitching staff, even if it is the best staff in baseball, and right now the Rays are pitching like that, you can't ask them to put up 2 or fewer runs allowed every single night. It's just not going to happen. So you need to score more runs. I think Ha-Seong Kim's going to help in that department. And then you get into the question of what's going to happen with the logjam in the outfield. Johnny Lucas on his way back. Jake Mangum's on his way back. There's going to be one, if not a couple of odd men out. And I love Cameron Meisner in center field, dude.
Yeah, man.
He's just not hitting a ton right now. And he's a rookie, no matter how old he is.
Yeah.
So his number might be up, at least for the time being. Travis Jankowski, a veteran they brought in as a stopgap measure. Now all of a sudden he tweaks his groin and he hasn't played. His number might be up. But those are the hard decisions that Eric Neander and Kevin Cash are going to be forced to make. And I like to call those champagne problems. Those are high-level problems for a team that's playing as hot as any in baseball right now.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, you don't want to get on Tyler Walls. Oh, get rid of, like, this is a guy he is the favorite for the Platinum Glove. I mean, number 1 in defensive runs saved in all of baseball. That was like 2 days ago. But, I mean, this is a guy that he affects the game with his glove. And sometimes you affect the game with your glove when you don't realize it. Like fielding defensively, sometimes you don't realize how much of it like factors into the game because a guy doesn't make a mistake, right? If a guy goes like 24 games without making a mistake, and just because you don't notice him, it's almost like an offensive lineman. You don't hear the name, it's a good thing, right? So that's kind of the same thing we have to keep in mind when it comes to Taylor Walls. I want to ask you about some college hoops. Bryan Hodgson comes in. I know you and I spoke about Tom Crean as a possible guy to come in after Coach Ben Fletcher, after Amir Abdur-Rahim. This guy's crushing it right now on the recruiting trail. Top 25 last time I checked. I feel like we're building off of some of the good vibes that we've had the last couple of years. But, I mean, you saw it being at the game there, remembering AAR. I mean, this thing is – we saw it a couple games when Amir was here, the game against FAU. I mean, man, this thing is bubbling right here in the Tampa Bay area, isn't it?
I love it, and I'm here for it. And I will tell you this. Not only was I at that game when they honored Amir, but I was also embedded for 48 hours with Coach Hodgson when he took his former team, Arkansas State, to the Sun Belt Championship game. And obviously at that time I had no idea he was going to be the next head coach at USF. But this guy is a Nate Oates disciple. He speaks to Nate regularly, and that is not going to change. And I know USF Bulls basketball fans have probably heard this already in the last month or so since Bryan got hired for this job. But Bulls fans will have never seen a brand of basketball inside Yuengling Center the way that they're going to see it now with Bryan as their head coach. It is going to be up and down. It is going to be breakneck speed. It is going to be high scoring, a ton of threes, and it's going to be the most exciting brand of basketball that USF has probably ever seen. When I first moved down here, I was covering USF when Stan Heath was the head coach, and it was all predicated on defense. And he got them, to a pretty successful level. But since then, there really hasn't been that much of an identity with USF hoops, and now there will be. Bryan Hodgson is going to put his stamp on that. And so I think that's going to win a lot of games early. And he is a great dude with a great backstory. And I just I can't wait to see what he's going to do with Tampa Bay as his backdrop for recruiting. Because if he was able to recruit dudes to Jonesboro, Arkansas, he's going to be able to recruit dudes to Tampa, Florida.
You got that right. Rich, before I let you go, break in, breakthrough, let everybody know how the event went with Laura Rutledge. I mean, I just saw so many great things, so many great feedback of people that were able to be there and be able to take part in there. Just let everybody know how that went, and also how they can get hold of you, and because you're doing so many good things for the next generation of broadcasters.
Thank you for asking about it, Jay. It was a response that was beyond my wildest dreams, to be honest with you. I try to manage my expectations, but sometimes you allow yourself to dream also. And when I dreamt of this business, which is mentoring aspiring sportscasters, that's what Break-In and Breakthrough is all about. I had no idea what the reach could be. And we're in our 4th year now. And last month we had our first live event, which means it was open to everybody. It was not an invitation type of an event. Anybody could sign up, and we had a tremendous response. And Laura Rutledge is, as you know, just fantastic. She's an absolute home run as a person and as a sportscaster, which is why I wanted her on. The next live event is already in the works, and we're going to have, I can't say bigger stars than Laura, but stars just as big as Laura, household names, people who are near and dear to my heart, but who are also elite level sportscasters and broadcasters. So more to come on that. I'm sure we'll be talking about that more. But the Break-In and Breakthrough train keeps rolling, and the next cohort for aspiring sportscasters is open now for registration. I have a few spots left. It starts on June 22nd. We meet on Sunday nights for 8 weeks. So if this is reaching anybody who is an up-and-coming sportscaster, or who knows someone who dreams of being a sportscaster like I am, like you are, Jay, you go to my name, richhollenberg.com, and all the details are there on that site.
Yeah, go check it out right now, richhollenberg.com. Just go through the site, and you may not think that you know somebody, but listen, I was coaching baseball for 10 years before I ever got into radio, and I wasn't necessarily looking for it. Heard on the radio, it changed my life. That's not hyperbole. It really did. So it may be something you never even thought about before, or somebody that's a big sports fan that knows a little bit about everything. Go look at the website, richhollenberg.com. Share it with somebody. You may know somebody that knows somebody. You never know. Things like this, just changing your career, it's life-changing, and it changed my life, and that's what Rich is doing. Again, Break-In, Breakthrough, richhollenberg.com, at Rich Hollenberg on social media as well. Rich, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much. I always appreciate your time making my show a whole heck of a lot better. We'll talk again soon, my partner. Thank you so much.
The pleasure's all mine, Jay. Great to see you, and raise up. Hopefully you get another series win tonight.
You got that right. Thanks, Rich.
Take care, Jay.
You got it, pal.